Hello everyone, today we are breaking down Season 3, Episode 6, Buxom Bird of Monster, the Ed Gein Story. But before that, remember to like the video, it helps out the channel a lot, and subscribe, and yada yada yada, let's get to it. The first thing we see is a flashback. Bernice, who Ed murdered in Episode 4, is talking with her son and the deputy of the town, Frank, about hosting Thanksgiving dinner. Frank says he's had a real hard time around the holidays these past few years. He doesn't have anyone except for her. Bernice, overcome with emotion, says of course they can have Thanksgiving dinner, and they start writing a list of things they will need. Unfortunately, this dinner will never happen. We're back in the current timeline where Frank and Sheriff Art go to his mother's hardware store. Frank notices that she is still closed up, which is odd since it is the middle of the afternoon. They enter and look around, still no sight of her. Art notices that the register is gone and then sees the blood splatter on the wall. Art has an idea of what happened here, but Frank continues to deny it, making up wild scenarios to protect himself from the truth of the matter, that his mother was most likely shot. Which, to be honest, any of us would. Nobody wants to admit that their mother could be dead. Frank heads to the back to see if there are any clues. The dinner Bernice set up for her and Ed is still back there, and the gift, her bras, is still back there as well. The box is addressed to Eddie. Ed Gein is the only Ed in town apparently, so they head out to his farm to see if he knows anything. They knock on his door, but Ed is not home, however. They enter the house looking for him. They notice how dirty it is in there, and there's a bunch of bugs, moths everywhere. The two look around and see a bunch of disturbing items that Ed made from dead bodies he dug up and from the people he killed. So the lampshade made from human skin, the chairs from human skin, a nipple belt, a box of dried vulvas, and of course his lady suit and the different lady masks that he made from real people. This show has tended to exaggerate and change certain things in the Ed Gein story, but this is all real. He actually made these things and had these things in his house. Art goes into the kitchen where he finds some guts and a human heart in a pot slow cooking. Frank comes in and is very confused. Art looks at him and says they will need backup. Art knows that this is very bad. They get a whole squad of police to come out and they search and document everything they see. Frank is sitting in a chair talking to himself how his mother is not here, so she could still be alive. Frank then realizes no one checked the barn and runs out there. He gets out there and sees his mother hanging from the rafters, and he is heartbroken. Granted, how he knew it was her? No idea. Because it was just a body. Her head was missing. Ed Gein arrives home and doesn't really understand what's happening. All the cops just look at him, like, what the F? Art runs over to him and starts yelling at him, asking, what did you do? Ed has no idea what he's talking about, then says maybe he was framed. Then he says he's not sure about any of this. Art is looking at him like he's a madman. Like, does he actually not know what's happening here, or is he just playing it up? As I've said in previous videos, Ed has schizophrenia, which means he sometimes has hallucinations, and sometimes doesn't know what's happening is real or not. He also has moments of blackout, where he can't remember the things he did. Frank comes running from the barn, mad as hell, and beats the crap out of Ed. They pull Frank off of him, and Ed can't understand why he would do that. They always got along. Once again, is this him not remembering what he did, or just a total lack of empathy? They put Ed in the back of the police car and haul him off. So what happened in real life is a bit different. So the storyline of Ed and Bernice being lovers never happened. They figured Ed had something to do with her disappearance because he was the last person in the store the day of her disappearance. His name was on a receipt for antifreeze. So they headed out to his farm, where he was present. But it was also night, which I can't believe they didn't do for the show. Like, that is a way more terrifying scene if it was at night. The first thing they discovered was Bernice's body hanging in the shed. Like in the show, it was hanging from the rafters, gutted and headless, like what you would do to a deer. Once again, imagine it being night. You got flashlights out and the light shines on that. That makes it seem way crazier than what they did in the show. And that's actually what happened. Like, why would you change that? It makes no sense. So after they discovered the body, they went through the rest of his house where they discovered the rest of the crazy things Ed had. We're now with Adeline reading a book, but instead of reading, she has pictures of dead bodies on the pages instead. A group of teens is looking at her and gossiping. She runs with Ed, so of course they're judging her. Adeline doesn't know what has happened yet. The kids leave and the diner owner tells Adeline the news. We're now with a pathologist going over all the body parts, trying to figure out how many people Ed killed and dug up, but also trying to match parts to people to make them whole again. Frank is there and he tells them he just wants to bury his mother. The pathologist tells him that they're still trying to piece her back together. And with the amount of body parts Ed has collected, it's going to take a while. We're back with Adeline, who is putting on some makeup. She's going to make a statement to the reporters. And she's kind of loving the attention. She tells the reporters that she was shocked about what was found at Ed's farm. She then says that they were acquaintances, that she would see him from time to time at the local diner, and one time they even went roller skating, but that was the extent of their relationship. She then denies anything more happening, and then she says she had no idea what Ed was doing. Then at the end, she says she will happily answer any questions about her personally, maybe about her artistic endeavors or her photography. So she only did this to grow her brand, I guess you would say. So in real life, none of the Adeline stuff happened. The two never had a relationship. The first interview Adeline gave about Ed talked about a 20-year relationship and how he proposed and yada yada yada. But a couple of days later, she backtracked on it and said it was a platonic relationship, kind of like how her speech in the show is. Adeline, which I just found out, was 50 years old during this. The show really takes some creative liberties with Adeline. We're now with Art. He's questioning Ed. Ed thinks this is all a big misunderstanding, that he never killed anyone, that this is just a hobby of his, that he can't swear to murdering anyone. Ed then tells him to check his guns, to see if any of them been fired or matched the bullets. Now, Ed killed Bernice with one of the guns she was selling, so Ed is playing some 3D chess here. But that was the big thing in this case. People couldn't tell if Ed was truly crazy or if he was playing it up. Everyone thought he was simple, but was he actually a lot smarter than everyone was giving him credit for? Ed says that everything they found at his farm was from people he dug up. He never killed them. Art is looking at him perplexed, because Bernice was strung up. Her innards were in his kitchen. They found her head in his mattress. And Ed says that he was going to hang her head on the wall, like you would do with deer antlers. Yet he insists he didn't kill her, which makes no sense to Art. Because where did the body come from, Ed? Because she was never buried. But Ed says, it's just all a bit fuzzy. So as I said, Ed has schizophrenia and just doesn't recall certain things. Art then asks if Ed ate the bodies. Ed says no, but the show makes it seem like he did, giving what he said was venison meat to people in town. There was no evidence of Ed actually eating the bodies in real life. Art then lays his cards on the table. He asks about the hunters who disappeared. He asks about Evelyn. He asks about Mary, if he had anything to do with it. And Ed says, oh, I don't think so. I couldn't have. So basically, they're getting nowhere. Ed can't remember anything. Ed then suggests a lie detector test, so Art can see if he's telling the truth or not. So they get the lie detector test and they ask Ed the same questions. Did you kill these people? And he says he didn't. And according to the lie detector test, he is telling the truth. So in real life, he confessed to killing Mary and Bernice. He had Bernice's body at his house and his Mary mask. But they did have him take a lie detector test on some of the unsolved murders in the area. Evelyn, for example. And he did pass those tests. That he did not have any involvement in their disappearances. And most people don't think he did. Granted, as I said in previous videos, they did find vulvas of younger ladies at his house, so something did happen. We just don't know if it was digging someone up or if it was murder. We are now with Frank. He is at his mother's funeral. The procession is over and Art invites him over for Thanksgiving dinner. Frank comes over and they start cutting up the turkey, but clearly Frank has a lot of trauma. He imagines Ed cutting up his mother. And that is the end of the episode. What did you think of it? Leave it down in the comments below. And if you want more monster content, please subscribe and like the video. Check out the Twitter link in the description below. And as always, have an awesome day.